powerful interests are pushing what they claim is a new way to address global warming, spraying sulfur into the sky in order to dim the sun. I know it sounds kind of like wild science fiction, right? But the billionaire class is actually trying really hard to make this a reality.
We work a lot on geoengineering.
One thing we absolutely have to do is research sunlight reflection.
Microsoft founder Bill Gates backed a major project at Harvard using balloons to deploy aerosols.
Like Bill Gates. Like one of the wackiest ones he's talking about, like blocking the sun.
Today, we are breaking down solar geoengineering and how it could be catastrophic for our planet. Solar geoengineering is the idea of using technology to bounce a portion of sunlight back into space in order to cool the planet. Now, the most common plan is called stratospheric aerosol injection, which aims to replicate history's largest volcanic eruptions by pumping huge amounts of sulfur into the stratosphere. This idea is not new. The concept of solar geoengineering is as old as the recognition of climate change itself. The very first US government report to acknowledge global warming, published in 1965 for President Lyndon B. Johnson, recognized most of the dangers of carbon dioxide emissions that we know about today. But nowhere in that report do the authors suggest we might even consider reducing our CO2 emissions. Instead, they suggest that we could, perhaps find ways to artificially reflect more sunlight away from the Earth and just geoengineer our way out of the problem. Now, over time, these ideas began to move from, just theory towards more real-world experimentation. The first attempt to test a solar geoengineering delivery system was the SPICE project in the United Kingdom. The SPICE researchers proposed creating a massive helium balloon, we're talking like the size of a major sports stadium, that would rise into the stratosphere and be tethered to Earth by a 15-mile-long hose. The hose would then be used to pump sulfur from the surface up into the stratosphere, where it could reflect sunlight away from Earth. But the whole project was abandoned after it received, pretty strong negative public reaction, and it was also discovered that some of the researchers had taken out a patent on the technology, which would obviously bias their research. So, why were people concerned about solar geoengineering in general? Well, even at that time, in 2011, modeling studies had shown that solar geoengineering would not just cool the planet, but it would also drastically alter global weather and precipitation patterns. Perhaps the most concerning finding is that it could reduce rainfall from Asian and African monsoons, and this actually happened after Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991, and that could threaten agriculture and food supply for billions of people. But disrupted rainfall is only part of the risk. Another huge concern was that if anyone conducts solar geoengineering and then stops it suddenly, a scenario that scientists call termination shock, global temperatures would rise very rapidly, much, much faster than global warming, and could trigger mass species extinctions, widespread loss of human life. Beyond the science, there are also serious questions about control. Who would control solar geoengineering anyway? Are we really going to trust authoritarian leaders to run the climate for the foreseeable future? You might think that these catastrophic risks would have put an end to geoengineering schemes, but actually, the opposite has happened. Between 2017 and 2024, Harvard University attempted to launch the Scope-X project to release reflective particles from a balloon into the stratosphere. Since 2022, a startup named Make Sunsets has launched over 220 sulfur-filled balloons into the stratosphere in order to sell cooling credits. And between 2021 and 2023, another sulfur balloon experiment was launched in the UK called the Stratospheric Aerosol Transport and Nucleation, or SATAN project. I mean, you literally cannot make these things up if you needed to. In 2024, the Marine Cloud Brightening project, based out of the University of Washington, set up an outdoor experiment on a decommissioned aircraft carrier in Alameda, California. Since 2023, a for-profit Israeli-US firm called Stardust Solutions has raised over $75 million to develop a solar geoengineering approach that they claim will be ready for global deployment by 2035. From 2008 through 2025, the Arctic Ice Project tried to develop billions of tiny microbeads that could be scattered over Arctic ice to make it more reflective. And in 2025, the UK's Advanced Research and Invention Agency announced over $60 million in funding for solar geoengineering research, including 5 different outdoor experiments. And the list just goes on and on and on. This concern is shared by governments around the world. The entire group of African countries has twice called for a global non-use agreement on solar geoengineering. More than 600 academics and more than 2,000 civil society organizations have joined in supporting a global commitment to non-use.
Geoengineering has no place in genuine climate action.
Indigenous peoples have also been at the forefront of the opposition to solar geoengineering, particularly when it's proposed on their lands. The Sami people in Sweden spoke out against the Harvard balloon experiment, and a broad coalition of indigenous peoples in Alaska organized to stop the Arctic Ice Project.
What all these false promises have in common, apart from being untested and unproven to be safe or effective, is that they emerge from a worldview defined by white supremacists and patriarchal narratives of conquest. Our lands and waters are not sacrifice zones.
Opposition is also growing here in the United States. 2 states, led by Republican legislatures and governors, have already banned solar geoengineering.
The Florida Senate passed a bill today banning weather manipulation, things like cloud seeding and geoengineering.
With no federal guidelines in place, Florida must take responsibility for its own airspace.
Iowa lawmakers are considering a bill that would ban certain forms of geoengineering, making any efforts to intentionally change Iowa's weather or climate illegal.
Major environmental networks are also starting to take a clear stand. Climate Action Network International, which is the world's largest coalition of environmental organizations, has come out strongly in opposition to both the deployment of solar geoengineering and outdoor experiments. Taken all together, these voices tell us something really important. Resistance to solar geoengineering is not isolated or partisan. It is a growing global bipartisan movement. Our focus at Friends of the Earth is to rapidly transition away from fossil fuel usage towards renewable energy, as well as more sustainable agriculture and land use. We have to learn how to live in balance with nature instead of attempting to dominate and control it. If you're with us and you want to learn more about our campaign work to stop geoengineering, you can visit us at foe.org to learn more and find ways to get involved.